12 cars gone in under 3 seconds. And the guy who started it, he's now dropped from 3rd in the standings all the way to 11th, and the NASCAR world is absolutely erupting over it. But here's the thing nobody's talking about yet. The real story isn't the wreck. It's what happens after the wreck. Because right now, 2 very different futures are being written for 2 very different drivers. And one of them is quietly building something dangerous, while the other one might be quietly falling apart. Stay with me, because this one's going to hit different. Alright, so let's start with what actually went down at Martinsville Speedway during the Cookout 400. And I need you to actually picture this, because the details matter. Carson Hocevar, no, 77 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet, starts 7th. And for most of that race, that car was alive. We're talking real top 10 pace, borderline top 5 speed at moments. This was not a fluke. This was not a lucky day. His Camaro was planted, consistent, fast, and Hocevar was executing. Clean laps, smart racing, protecting his position. And then something happens that changes everything. One late restart, one decision, and suddenly it all gets ripped away in the worst possible way. Bubba Wallace, no, 23 for 23 XI Racing, comes out of turn 4 and drives straight into the back of Hocevar. Not a tap, not a bump. An actual hit enough to completely spin him around in the middle of Martinsville Speedway traffic. And if you know anything about this track, you already know what comes next. You can't just wreck one car at Martinsville. It multiplies. One goes, then another, then another. 12 cars total. 12! That's not a racing incident at that point. That is a moment that reshuffled the entire race outcome in a matter of seconds. And the chaos it created opened the door for Chase Elliott to quietly steal the win. Think about that. Someone else wins because of this wreck. That's how big this was. Now here's where Hocevar's response absolutely shocked me, and I mean that in the best way. Because after everything that happened, after getting wrecked through no fault of his own, after watching a strong run evaporate right in front of him, he didn't spiral. He talked about his car. He said he was proud of what the number 77 team brought that day. He acknowledged the debris caution that already messed with their strategy earlier in the race, said, "We got run over," and moved on. That is maturity you cannot fake. And here's the part that actually matters. They fixed the car. They kept him on the lead lap. He clawed back to a 17th place finish. Ties his career best at Martinsville. Let me ask you this. How many drivers, after getting wrecked by someone else in a race they were clearly going to run well in, come back to finish their career best at that track? That's a competitor. That's someone building something. And I need you to hold on to that thought, because it becomes very important in a minute. Now, let's talk about Bubba Wallace. Because this is where it gets complicated, and this is where people are going to have very strong opinions. He didn't hide, he came out and admitted it. Misjudgment. He was already frustrated coming into that restart because he'd been put 3 wide in turn 1, and then he just overdrove the corner. And I respect the honesty, I do, but honesty doesn't undo what happened. And the numbers are unforgiving right now. 3rd in the standings going into Martinsville, 11th coming out of it. That's not a slip, that's not a bad day. That is a standings collapse at a moment in the season where you absolutely cannot afford one. And here's the part that makes this even heavier. Not long ago, we were watching Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick sitting 1 and 2 in the standings for 23 XI Racing. That's 2 teammates running 1st and 2nd in the entire Cup Series. That's a statement. Now, the story has completely changed. So something isn't adding up here, and I think we need to talk about why. Because when veterans start speaking up, that's when you know this is about more than just one wreck. Rick Mast and Kevin Harvick both weighed in, and what they said deserves way more attention than it's getting. Mast brought up Dale Earnhardt Sr. And not for aggression, for intellect, for calculation, for the ability to know when to push and when to protect. Harvick backed it up and said, straight up, emotions got the better of Bubba in that moment. But, and this is the part people keep skipping over, Harvick also admitted he's done the exact same thing at Martinsville. Lost his temper, made moves he'd take back. So this isn't about labeling Bubba as a dirty driver. This is about a pattern that starts forming when pressure builds. And the question that no one wants to say out loud, is this becoming a pattern for him? Because 1 misjudgment is racing, 2 starts a conversation, 3 becomes a reputation. Now here's what makes the next race so critical, and I genuinely cannot stress this enough. Bristol Motor Speedway is next. Bristol, another short track, another pressure cooker, another place where 1 bad moment turns into 5 bad moments before you even realize what's happening. If Bubba Wallace carries even a fraction of that Martinsville frustration into Bristol, that track will expose it. Bristol doesn't give you a warning. It doesn't give you time to adjust. It takes that edge, sharpens it, and turns it into a disaster. That's not an opinion, that's just what Bristol does. On the other side, Hocevar heads to Rockingham Speedway for the truck race. First gets a confidence reset, then comes back to the Cup car at Bristol with momentum, and something most drivers in his position don't have right now. A reason to believe. Because the speed is real. The team is real. And when you combine that with the mental composure he showed at Martinsville, that is a driver who's getting ready to make some noise. So when you zoom all the way out and look at both of these stories together, and I need you to really think about this, you've got 2 drivers at a crossroads right now. Hocevar in a midfield car, extracting everything possible from every situation, building quietly, tying career bests after getting wrecked by somebody else. And Wallace, with arguably one of the strongest cars and organizations in the sport right now, dropping standings positions because of a decision made in a fraction of a second under emotional pressure. And the crazy part, both of them are heading to the same next race, at the same brutal track, with completely different stories to tell. Bristol is going to be a moment of truth, not just for the results, but for the responses. Because that's what we are watching for now. Not just who wins, who responds. And honestly, I've got a feeling Bristol is going to tell us everything we need to know about where both of these guys are actually at. Drop your take in the comments. Do you think Bubba bounces back fast? Or is this the start of something bigger? And if you're into real NASCAR breakdowns like this one, subscribe to NASCAR Nation Report. We're a new channel gunning for 15,000 subscribers, and every single video is built for fans who actually live this sport. I'll catch you at Bristol.